Welcome to another episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. I am your host, Kelly Melissa Reinhart, and I feel like I start these out the same way every single time, but maybe that's why you join. I don't know. As with all of the episodes, am very excited for my guest for today. Mental health and wellness are such buzzwords, I guess you could say, in society today, but really, truly, the benefit of and why I bring guests onto the show is to really allow you a space as you listen or watch to be able to know that you're not alone. Whatever you might be experiencing or something that you're going through, whatever it might be, there are other people that have probably been through similar experiences. And most all of my guests have turned their trauma or their situation or whatever experience they've gone through into something that they do today. As you know, with my story, if you've been watching for quite some time, you know I turned the loss of my sister into a nonprofit. And it was not something that I had ever planned to do, but it has definitely been rewarding. And then being able to have the show to bring so many other people from all across the world that are willing and wanting to share their experience because mental health and wellness is really important. And the more that we can have these open conversations, the more we really truly can break down the stigma. And there's still a lot of barriers that exist in this world, but through different people, different technologies, all sorts of ways we can really start to break down that stigma. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest for today. So, Dante Wade is on a mission to inspire community development, promote mental health, and help people live better lives. A New Jersey native from Newark, Dante has over 7 years of experience in business development and operations. After earning his degree in business management from Lincoln University of Pennsylvania in 2017, he quickly established himself as a leader with a passion for innovation and community service. Dante has held key roles, including national director at a large nonprofit and assistant vice president in higher education. His experience lies in building corporate partnerships within the workforce development sector. As the co founder and chief operating officer of Reju, I probably said that wrong, so you can correct me, a mental health and holistic wellness mobile app. Dante drives operations, strategic partnerships, and team alignment to empower users to achieve physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And through his work, he remains dedicated to positively impacting lives. So without further ado, Dante, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Kelly, thank you so much for having me. And you definitely said it right. It is Reju. It's short for rejuvenate. So that could always keep you aligned on how to say it.
Ah, perfect. I was like, I'm probably gonna say this wrong. So thank you. So tell the audience a little bit more about, I know I gave them a short blip of the things that you have done and accomplished, but tell the audience a little bit more about your story and your journey.
No, absolutely. And similar to what you said earlier. So first of all, Dante Wade, native of Newark, New Jersey, which I always proudly mention because I believe where I came from and my experiences really shaped my life and how I ended up. Now, similar to what you said earlier, when you get into the mental health space, what I've realized over the course of this journey is that most people I know who are working in mental health and have a passion for mental health and as part of their mission, it wasn't necessarily always their plan to get into this space. I know for me growing up, I was an athlete. I played six sports growing up. In high school, I was a two sport athlete. In college, I was an athlete. So naturally I was thinking that my career would somehow align with athletics. If it's not being a professional athlete, and maybe working on a professional sports team, working on a high school sports team, just something aligned with athletics. And I was actually able to do that. I worked for the New York Red Bull soccer team for some time. But what really got me interested, and I'm saying interested, I feel like my life path just took me into a space of mental health and wellness because after I graduated from college, as I was moving back home, we were moving my grandmother into our house as she was beginning to suffer from Alzheimer's. Now, this experience was not unique to myself or my family because my paternal grandmother also suffered from Alzheimer's. And my family served as caretaker for both grandmothers as they got to the height of their disease. Now, what a lot of people don't know, if they haven't had a loved one who experienced Alzheimer's or dementia or any mentally deteriorating disease, is it doesn't just affect the individual who's suffering from it, but it affects everybody around them. And what I noticed, not only within just myself, but my family overall, was with my second grandmother being affected with this disease, it just really brought a wave of depression, anxiety, and a feeling of overall hopelessness amongst the family. And when I talk about my own personal experience, I was feeling all of those things mixed with trying to navigate life as an early graduate of college, trying to figure out what my career is going to be, what my life is going to look like. I was in a relationship, but my wife was, joining the military. So now I'm in a long distance relationship, and I'm navigating all of these changes. And I wasn't necessarily sure what that meant. And the answer wasn't necessarily, build a mental health company or dive into the industry, but I said, how can I make myself feel better? So the first thing I did, I deleted all of my social media for about 8 months. Um, because I felt like it just wasn't serving me in that moment. And after deleting social media, I started reading every day. I was making sure that I was eating right, I was working out, and really just trying to figure out ways in which I could make my lifestyle overall more healthy. Now, this soon materialized into me really sharing inspirational messages with my group chat once a week, every Monday. I would just drop an inspirational message paragraph in my group chat, really just encouraging folks to move forward. And what they didn't know at the time were those were all messages that I would say to myself to keep myself up, to keep myself afloat, to keep myself motivated. And funny enough, it was December of 2018. It was actually November of 2018 when I decided to get back on social media, and that turned into Monday Motivations. I would drop a weekly video with me with these inspirational messages, sharing it to my audience. And after about a month of doing that, one of my friends from college reached out and he said, "Hey, I love what you're doing. I see, a little bit about your journey, and I see the messages you're dropping in the group chat." He said, "I too have family members that have suffered from mental health ailments, and I want to come up with a solution." He was a cybersecurity specialist, software engineer by trade. So we came together and said, you know what, let's build a technology solution that can assist individuals with dealing with some of the negative tides that they face in life. And from there, Reju was born in December 2018. We had our first conversation. 2 years later, we launched our first MVP, and now we find ourselves in 2024 in our second iteration of the app, onboarding new clients and just scaling our business overall. So, very similar to what you said, a negative situation in which, I felt the hopelessness, the sadness of seeing my grandmother essentially forget who all of us were, and really turn that into a solution and really a thought of how can I help other people not feel so, I guess, for lack of a better term, just down and out with life's trouble. So that's a little bit about my story and how I got here.
That's amazing. And I, so couple of things popped into my head. One, the dementia. So my grandfather or one of my grandpas, he had dementia. And then more recently, my aunt actually, she had died by with Alzheimer's. And it's this journey that I mean, it's so hard for everyone around because they don't really know the difference, right? But we do, and we're still in that experience, and it can be really, really hard for everyone. And knowing that you had two that went through it and having to like relive again, and with the hopes that in the future nobody else experiences Alzheimer's. Unfortunately, it is sometimes genetic, which that sucks, right?
Yeah.
Um, so knowing, I know that even like on my dad's side is the side that has the potential. So even in my life, I'm like, man, there's like still that genetic tie of the potential. So how can we like work out our brains? I don't even know. Like I know there's no cure, but I know there are things that we can do to help our brains to be more in a positive versus going down that route. But that's a whole probably another conversation that we could have. But the idea of this app that you created, I've always, even when I first started my nonprofit, I thought about like what is the way that we can connect people in, and I even had that thought of I more looked at it for youth specifically
Mhm.
because in that demographic just keeps pulling me back and pulling me back. And I was like, if there's a way that we could reach these youth on a daily basis and just share something, whether it's inspirational or funny or, like TikTok is now. Um, but I think it's so cool that you have created this app and you're able to keep continuing to add to it and grow it. And yeah, that's just so amazing. So I'm super fascinated by the app and what really, because you've been doing it for quite some time too, so obviously it is very beneficial.
Yes, absolutely. And I must say, it's been quite a journey and an experience because funny enough, and I believe in fate, and I believe some things are just meant to happen. I wrote in my notebook earlier that year before my partner called me that I wanted to build an app. Now, I'm not a technician by trade. My experience is mostly in business development, and I've been able to acquire project management and some quality assurance skills over the years. But in regards to the whole process, so I mentioned we had our first conversation in December 2018. So in 2019, it was strictly development, figuring out what works. How can we really, be impactful with what we have? And I can tell you, the first 6 months of 2019, we dove into the project head first. We started getting content. We started, getting different contractors to help us build this out. And we scrapped our idea and started over from the beginning about 6 months in. And I look back and chuckle because we may have been a little frustrated at the time, but I've learned that, pivots, ebbs, and flows are just part of business, especially small business as well. But what we really wanted the foundation was wellness content. So videos, audio publications, self challenges, and the community forum. What I was able to truly learn over the course of this process is really the power of guided meditations and meditation overall. I mentioned I was in a lot of sports as a kid. Martial arts was one of them. And we finished every session with a minute of meditation. And funny enough, that was always like one of my favorite times as a child because I felt like I got to quiet my mind. But through the guided meditations in the app, I realized that, you could say positive affirmations as you're focused, as you're locked in. And that was something really impactful. And we launched our first iteration of the app in February 2020. And
Mhm.
I always like to say when it happened because the entire world changed in March 2020 with COVID happening. So it was an interesting time to start a small business, especially with no pre-seed capital. We really raised it off of our own savings and our own desire to build. And we went into 2020 really excited about the product. We had some early traction, buy-in, but we wanted to make our product even more powerful. And the way that we thought to do so was to include therapists, practitioners, and mental health experts in the app for one-on-one chatting and texting. And here I am again with the dates. It was November of last year. We finally got that product finalized and approved in the iOS App Store. So it's been quite a journey, start to finish. I know I missed out a year or two in that, but there's a lot that we've had to put into it to get it to where it is now.
Yeah, I've had so many people along the way that are like, "You should just create an app." And I was like, "Do you understand like all the things that go into building apps and like the maintenance and all of the things, right?" And I know there's platforms like I build my website on Wix and they have like an app that you can build. I know like Jotform, they came out with building apps, but it's like all the layers of all the things that you put in and then having it approved and all of, yeah, there's a lot. So that is amazing that you have put in the time, the effort, and you're continually adding, which is adding value. And I know, gosh, I mean, starting it in 2020, it is almost like the best and worst time, right? Because now people are becoming more isolated, and we're really starting to notice the mental health challenges more so. I mean, now we're really starting to see the effects and what that had back then. But I'm more than sure like this would be a way to start connecting people in, which is great. But then also thinking on the flip side of now people are losing jobs and you're trying to start a business and all of these things compiling, but you still went for it and you continued. And then you're like, this is the vision that I have, is I want to add this component to it, which now adds more value. And that's just, I mean, again, now really is the time, because especially in the mental health space, we are noticing the effects that are coming out of the pandemic. And I still don't think that we've reached the top of the iceberg to really understand how it has really truly affected people. So I just think it's amazing what you are doing and the continued effort that you make to. And of course, I'm hearing this for the first time. Like, you and I haven't, we connected through another show host, and he's like, you've got to put this guy on your show. And I was like, yes, I think that's amazing. I read your story and I was like, yes, we need to. So I'm going to do my due diligence also to go check out the app and just understand exactly what you guys offer, because I know it's not a small feat, and it definitely came from a place of where you were noticing how you could potentially help in that space, because life didn't exactly go the direction that you thought it would. So I just think that's really incredible. What we're going to do, we're going to go to our quick first sponsor break, but once we get back, we can chat a little bit more about your story and the app specifics if you want to, or maybe we'll go in a different direction. We'll find out once we get back.
1,917 people die daily from suicide globally.
I lost my middle sister, Carrie, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
How does Make Mental Health Matter save lives?
Number 1, awareness.
My story, however, it isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction, and because of Kelli and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here, and if it wasn't for Kelli answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
Number 2, conversation.
I'm curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community, it is very hush-hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like, you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelli, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question, because it is different, and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be, because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Number 3, education.
Kelli's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message, encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelli's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually, And her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
And like that, we're back. If you happen to be joining the Make Mental Health Matter show now, thank you so much for tuning in. I would highly recommend that you go back and listen to Dante's story and really what he does now, because it's super cool. He has created this app that is helps with mental, physical, emotional health. And the question that was like bubbling up in my head as we went to the break was, knowing that you came from your own experience and then you're like, I need to do something about this, sending just to your community on a daily basis, and noticing that that's beneficial for yourself, but then also beneficial for others. And then you're like, I'm going to create this app and now I have a buddy that can actually help me do it. But knowing there's a lot of backside to doing apps and keeping that up and keeping them up to date and all these things. But the question that was kind of mulling around in my head is like, what are the main lessons? And I know you talked about meditation and other things like that, but what are the things that like you have noticed that have been super helpful, whether it's for you or for others that are utilizing the app?
No, 100%. I'd say the main lessons is establishing a routine. And the reason I say a routine is because oftentimes when you get caught up in the minutia of, the daily struggles, life, the anxiety of the unknown, sometimes what really grounds you and keeps you together is your routine. And the app is really meant to be a part of an individual's routine. We were in a discussion with a potential partner recently, and they were asking, well, since you have a mobile app and we're in a day and age where people oftentimes are on their phones too much, how do you mitigate the risk of somebody just spending time 6 hours on Reju out of their day? And I say, Reju isn't really built for an individual to spend too much time, but really to spend intentional time on it. All of our videos are capped at around 90 seconds. So individuals could go in, get the information, be able to leave. You could book your sessions with your practitioners very easily as well. And the daily mood trackers, you go in, you say how you're feeling for that day, but you would go back and see, how's my mood been over this past month, this past week? Because oftentimes we're not checking in with ourselves to see how we truly feel, especially when you have a whole host of responsibilities. I know you're a wife, you're a mother, and sometimes you put your titles and your responsibilities above your feelings. And that's not sustainable and that's not healthy to overall development. So that's a big lesson that I've learned is routine. And I'd say but we've started a mental health and wellness company, but we're still entrepreneurs and we're still startup entrepreneurs, which can be very stressful at times. And it's a very interesting journey that you have to go on that people who haven't been on it don't necessarily understand. So as obvious as it may sound, but in building this company, we've oftentimes had to take a step back and check in with ourselves as co-founders and as team members to make sure, hey, are you all right? What's going on in your life? How are you feeling? What are you dealing with right now? What are the daily struggles? Because you very well know, as you've built your own brand, there are challenges that are coming, and then there are challenges that you had no idea that you would be dealing with. And it can affect you. It can affect your health. It could affect your confidence, and especially from a mental health standpoint. So it's really making sure that before I have this mission of taking care of everybody and making sure I have positive resources and positive content, I got to make sure that I'm taking my own medicine as well and making sure that I'm mentally in the correct space to service others. Because to put a bow on, the biggest lesson that I've learned from this entire process is you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes. Not at one point in time, but yes, you're like speaking my language, because I created 7 strategies around mental wellness for myself more so, but then I was like noticing that it's helping others when I go and speak. Those are the ones that I use, but I had to remind myself, and one of them is practice what you preach, because I forget myself the most out of everybody, and I live in this space on a daily basis. So I love that you like intentional time on the app, right? And then also checking in with each other as business partners because entrepreneurship is not easy.
Not at all.
There's so many. I call it the roller coaster. There's highs, there's lows. It can be easy and it can flow, but it does take a lot of work and there is a lot of things that you foresee happening, but then others that you don't. And so you kind of have to ride or ride the waves and go with it. But that I think that's just an important message across the board, especially for those that might be entrepreneurs, and noticing whatever you're noticing. I love the fact so my brain is also going a little bit different way because I know there's a lot of apps out there, right? So I have them, they pop up on my watch because I have all Apple things. And do I actually click on them to go do anything?
Yeah.
Most of the time, not like I'm dismiss or whatever, but I think just unconsciously, even it gives us that prompt of like, you have to think about whatever it is. So it sounds like though this is much more than just the like yoga ones or just the meditation ones or just the health and wellness. Like you have all sorts of layers to this app.
Yes, absolutely. And we were quite ambitious in this undertaking. And I say that because we wanted to build an all encompassing, comprehensive platform that followed the 8 pillars of wellness. And the 8 pillars of wellness all range from, your emotional, your mental, your physical, all the way to your financial, your environmental, your spiritual, and a whole host of other pillars of wellness as well. And the goal behind Reju is seeing how can we tackle every single pillar? How can we assist with every single facet of your life? And while that has been challenging as a small company with limited resources, it's something that we really wanted to stick true to because we know that, yes, it's a big undertaking. Yes, some of the larger companies are really focused on one area, but people, if they need help in one area, oftentimes they could use assistance in another area as well. And the app isn't meant to take place of a therapist, practitioner, or life coach, even though we provide that through the app. There's also a point of intentional action behind the individual who's utilizing the app as well, utilizing those bite-sized pieces of wisdom, the content that we have, the practitioners that are available. So we know it was ambitious with all of the encompassing factors that we wanted to include to it, but that's something that we haven't really wavered on since the beginning of opening it because one, why not? I feel like if you have a dream, if you have a goal, if you have ambition, shoot for it. And two, there are people out there who really are at ground zero when it comes to mental health, wellness, health resources overall, and they don't know where to start. So why just offer them one facet when we could give them a little bit of everything?
Yeah, I mean, knowing because our mental health is affected by so many other things, including, I mean, our physical health, all of them, right? They all tie together. The mind and body are connected, so they affect each other. And knowing that, and then also having those pillars, it sounds like it would feel pretty overwhelming at first, but it also like that's what you're grounded in is like these are what we want to be able to provide. And then looking even outside like your group, right? And bringing in the specialists, whether they're professionals, coaches, um, probably financial planners or coach, right? Like whatever that realm is. And that's what I've learned too, especially within the nonprofit space, is that we're all trying to really accomplish the same thing. So why not do it together? Like we have to be able to collaborate and be able to find those other people that can help support what we're trying to do. So I love that you have stuck to those pillars and making sure that that's something that you, whether it's there now or in the future, it's always going to be that structure.
100%. And you really hit the nail on the head. Something that my co-founder always says is, we have to lateral network to different people in the space. And, I have a true belief that if we all have the same mission, then we're not competing with one another. We have to collaborate. And the foundation of the 8 pillars of wellness, of having, a comprehensive plan, is very exciting because it puts us in a position to partner with it puts us in a position to partner with multiple professionals, multiple fields. And that's the most exciting thing, because as we partner with individuals, we learn more. I've learned, what Reiki is. I've learned what, a mental health Sherpa was. I've learned about the financial wellness aspect of things, and from career coaching and professional development. So it's really made the journey even more rewarding because we're not looking at things from one specific lens.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to our quick last sponsored break, but once we get back, I had another question that popped into my head. So we'll be right back after this quick sponsor break.
8 million people die by suicide in the world each year.
One person dies due to suicide every 40 seconds.
Have you ever felt completely alone?
Like your life doesn't matter.
You are not alone. Call the National Suicide Lifeline at 988.
Hope and recovery is possible.
You can help too.
With only $19 a month, you help us save lives through mental health and suicide prevention education.
Scan the QR code or go to makementalhealthmatter.org to sign up as a warrior for mental health today.
Hello, I'm Dr. Kimberly L. Wilson, also known as Dr. Burnout. You can catch me on Leadership Beyond Burnout on E360 TV on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Vitality Network, where we focus on emerging women leaders and women leaders.
Hi everyone, I'm Andy.
And I'm Minna.
We're the hosts of Chronically Healthy Life.
Join us Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time on Vitality TV to see how we flip the idea of chronic on its head and create chronic health in our bodies, minds, finances, and relationships, right here on E360 TV.
And like that, we're back again. If you happen to be joining the Make Mental Health Matter show now, thank you so much for watching. Again, go back and watch the beginning of this. Dante and I are talking about really his journey through multiple family members having Alzheimer's, and then going through that experience, which ultimately led into creating this app called Reju that helps with mental, physical, emotional health and wellness. And the question that was kind of popping up into my head earlier, I'm like, where it was there. I was thinking more around the aspects of collaboration, right? So I have also done a lot of collaborating, learning of all the different holistic, professional, mental health professionals, suicide prevention, all the things, right? And I'm sure that you may have had these experiences too, is you start to really understand the aspects that are, or people that are really helpful and not hurtful. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts around just that whole process, because I feel like, and the reason why I'm asking this question, I feel like in today's society, everybody's a coach. They're a coach for something, or they are getting into entrepreneurship, which I think is amazing, right? The more people that can help people, the better we are. But we also have to be cautious and careful to make sure that we are going to people that are going to be helpful and not hurtful. And that's just one of my big things. So I don't know if you have any thoughts around that.
No, 100%. That's such a good question. And I could tell you're really in the space because you've noticed that. Ever since COVID, there has been an influx of, life coaches, spiritual guides, a whole host of titles that they get. And it is very important to understand who's being helpful and who's being opportunistic, because what's been an unfortunate side of the mental health industry coming out of COVID is a lot of people have started doing this because they see it's a need, and they see that people, are really looking for these services and aren't in it for the right reasons. So with that being said, we have a very robust vetting process, including myself and a few other of my team members. And the majority of before they're able to actually download a profile and get into the app is a lot of one-on-one conversations with us. How long have you been in the industry? Do you have any certifications behind what you've done? Do you have any references? And that's with knowing, the certification process of becoming a life coach is different than the certification process of becoming, a licensed clinical wellness practitioner or a therapist or a psychologist. And every service is different, but it's really understanding what's at the heart of that practitioner. Why are they doing this? And that's really an important question that we found ourselves asking when we talk to these practitioners. Why? What's your reason for being in this space, for being in this industry? What's your personal goal? What is your end goal for what you want to do? Do you want to build a practice? Do you want to, remain nimble and, singular so you could travel and meet with different people? Like, what's your why? And another reason that we ask that is because we're very keen on growing with individuals. We know we're a young organization and we'd like to grow. We have, lofty goals for where we want to take us. And we believe that if we could build up a community, a village of people that are like-minded, that, have the same mission, ambition, goals that we have in regards to assisting others and changing lives, well, we could stay on board with one another. But we are very intentional about understanding the why of who we talk to, because I've been in conversations with some people where I say, well, I'm charging, $1,000 a session. And I'm like, wait, hold up. Not saying that you can't do that, but what's your credentials? What's your why? Who is the audience that you're looking to reach out to too? And that's been a really big and important question that we ask. Who's your audience that you're reaching out to? Because if you're looking to, just work with corporate executives, this may not be the platform for you, because we really want a low barrier of entry to the people that we bring in. I'm looking for people, who may have never spoken to a therapist a day in their lives, who may have been stigmatized for them within their family or their own experiences, but they're looking for a change. So really getting into the why and having a robust vetting process is how we separate the individuals who are looking for opportunity versus the individuals who are just genuinely looking to help.
Yeah, there's so much. I'm like, we have so much collaborating we can do, so we'll have to chat after this. But yeah, that's, one of our big, so we're our trusted resource hub. I don't ever want to be like the biggest database by any means, but I want to be like the trusted database, right? And then also getting feedback from those that have gotten referrals, because I also often say to people is, if you go and talk to a counselor or you talk to a therapist or you talk to a coach, right? Just because you talk to them doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go with them. There's so many more out there, and you really have to truly find the one that aligns with you. And sometimes it's kind of like speed dating. You have to like really go and test out the waters, because there are so many people that have never, just to ask for help is often one of the hardest steps to take, first and foremost. But then once you go to somebody and maybe they're just not the right fit or they don't align with what you need, then that could create this dynamic that you're like, well, they're not going to help me, so I'm not going to get help, right? So I think that's the important part, is having options, but also knowing that you have options, and we can also advocate for ourselves and then advocate for others that might be in our life that maybe can't advocate for themselves. So and that's again a whole different conversation, but
Yeah.
I love and honor the fact that you also go through a very big vetting process, and knowing that the people that are on this app specifically are going to be that expert. They aren't going to charge you an arm and a leg, because we know already in the mental health space that access is a huge barrier for people to get help. And that's why even on our trusted resource hub, we ask people to have a sliding scale. Not that we're asking to ever give their services away for free. We're just asking that they also have access for people that are lower income that maybe, especially if they don't take insurance. Um, so I want to also just give you a chance. I know we've talked a lot about the app and what you did and kind of your journey, but is there anything else that you really want to share that maybe we haven't talked about?
Yes, so an exciting new venture I've joined on. I became a published author this year. Um, yes, I was actually able to co-author a mental health book actually. And it's one of those things that it was on my list of goals that I said I wanted to do, but opportunity just arose. And I was told multiple times throughout this year, you have to tell your story. You have to tell your story. And the most interesting time, I was actually in the airport at Costa Rica, coming back home from visiting my wife's family. And there was a pastor there, and he was just looking at me and my family. He came over and just started talking to us. And he looked at me and said, I know I don't know you, but I feel inclined to tell you that you have to tell your story. And I know I've shared a lot on this call, but there's even a lot more that I can share in regards to my story and my journey. And from there, I was actually able to meet an individual named Lonnie Ray. So Lonnie, if you're watching this, I definitely wanted to give you a shout out. And she was able to host a workshop with myself and some fellow co-authors. And we came together and we put together an anthology book. And I was able to get my own chapter dedicated to my journey with mental health and, some of my biggest tests and biggest struggles and how I was able to overcome them. So that's been a new journey for me, getting into the published author space and really tying it together with what I'm doing with Reju. As I get older and, get more into my journey, I'm turning 30 next year. I'm realizing that every aspect of my life, professional journey, just being has really been centered around health and wellness from different fields. And I think that really ties into my experiences with my grandmothers, some other family members, some health issues we have. I had my grandmothers that dealt with Alzheimer's, but I have family members that have passed away from cancer, from diabetes. I've had friends that have passed away from violence. So life is something that's very, very precious to me. And I'm very well aware that, life is something that's not promised. Tomorrow's not promised. So I have to live in the moment. And I want to dedicate every moment that I have on this earth to figuring out what can be my optimal health. And when I learn it, how can I show somebody else how to do it? And that's really my mission.
Amazing. And congratulations on the book. That is definitely a feat, right? To get all of that. And then you're like, well, what do I put into it? Or how much do I share or not share? So congratulations on the book. And where, if people do want to follow your journey, how or what is the best place for them to go?
Yes, so I could be found on LinkedIn, Dante Wade, pretty simple. Dante Wade on Facebook and on social media handles such as, Instagram, Threads, Twitter. It's _ campaign with a K 7. And I'm very active on Instagram. I still post my Monday motivations. I post, book promotions, any other exciting ventures I'm in. And also, Reju was just featured actually in a Forbes publication last week. So there's a little bit more information on that on my social media pages as well.
Heck yeah. And the website, is this the best website for them to go to?
Yes, absolutely. TheRejuApp.com.
Awesome. So for those of you that are listening, it is the TheRejuApp.com. So the RejuApp.com. And you can check all of that out or follow on across any of the social media links. Any final words that you want to share with the audience?
Final words that I'd like to share with the audience. Let me look directly into the camera. So no matter what you may currently be going through, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always a way to get through your situation. I don't say this because it's a cliche. I say this because I'm somebody who's considered suicide before. I'm somebody who's wanted to give up before. I'm somebody who's had hopelessness, despair, depression. and a myriad of other emotions. But I'm here to tell you that if you keep going, if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, if you keep trying, if you keep waking up, good things will come to you. But you always have to believe it, and you can never, ever falter. You have to hold on to the fact that good things are coming to you. You deserve goodness, and you walk in the path of goodness. And yeah, that's why I would like to share to the audience. I love each and every one of you. I have a lot of love for you. If you find me on any social media handles, please feel free to DM me, reach out. I have no problem giving an encouraging word to anybody, because I truly believe we all deserve to live our best lives if we take the necessary steps for it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all your story and the app, and go download it, everybody. But I just appreciate you being here. So thank you so much for being the guest for today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Kelly.
Yeah. All right, y'all. That was another amazing episode of Make Mental Health Matter. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna go download the app, go check it out, and see what I can find. Again, it is the rejuapp.com. So TheRejuapp.com that you can find that. No matter what you do, I don't really have much to say after that, because that was like the perfect way to end the show. So no matter what you do, make sure you come back next week. We go live on Mondays at 5 p.m. on E360 TV Mountain Time, so Denver Mountain Time, or you can listen on Dream Vision 7 Radio at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. And all you have to say is, Alexa, play Dream Vision 7 Radio. No matter what you do, again, come back next week. See you around.
Thank you.